What's up? Today, July 7th, 2020, we are going to do a battle blog today. Faith versus fear. I think this is one of those battles where it's either going to be one-sided depending on how you look at it. But we're in a pandemic, so people right now are battling with fear of the coronavirus, hate crimes, the government, job loss, unemployment. The list can go on. And so, according to Google, fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous to cause pain or be a threat. Yeah, that's a pretty long definition, but very deep. And fear is not a game. Fear is an emotion. Fear is a belief. It's a reaction to a situation or even just the presentation of an idea. But however we choose to believe it, spiritual or not, everyone at some point will battle with fear or will come in grips with it. Some fear death, some fear commitment, some fear of what tomorrow will bring. The reason why I say faith versus fear, because it's another way of saying what you believe versus what is reality. What I believe versus what is reality don't always collide easily, or may not even happen. But according to Google, faith definition is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. I like the verb tense of it because it says strong belief in God or in doctrine of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. According to Hebrews, it says faith is the substance of things hoped for but yet not seen. That's another way of saying that I believe for greater things. I hope in a better tomorrow. But I can be fearful at times. I can be afraid of this coronavirus, or I can live my life every day as if it was my last. It's just how we choose to believe it or how we choose to deal with it. So I broke down the word fear and gave it a couple of different words in this acronym. I put the letter F for forsake. Because a lot of times when we're fearful, we're going to forsake doing things because we don't feel like it's for our best interest, or maybe it's something that can hurt us, or maybe will make us lose a part of ourselves. Whatever that looks like, we're going to forsake when we're fearful. I put the letter E, we're going to end. And what I mean by end is not the ending of a movie or the ending to this video, but it could be that we end things before we start something new. That could be the best thing for us. You get halfway in a relationship, you're fearful that they're not going to be committed. Then you end it based on a hunch or a notion or maybe an action or an event. And it's an ongoing thing. You end things before you even start to finish that thing. I put the letter A for alienate. So when you get fearful, you tend to isolate, or at least I do. I don't want to deal with the truth of reality that I'm in. So I alienate myself. I push back from rather than going forward. The letter R is reject. When you're fearful, you're going to reject things. You're not going to want to embrace it. It's like, who wants to pay the IRS, right? Who wants to do their taxes? Because they're going to reject whatever amount of money I made last year and then take out more. They give me back more. That's an extreme example. But just like rejection comes, it can create bitterness. It can create resentment. And this is what fear does. Fear, it's like a ball and chain. It keeps you shackled from moving forward. It doesn't allow you to have the freedom to embrace new decisions, new opportunities. And then we're going to look at the opposite of the spectrum, and that's faith. I put the letter F for find. You find new things about yourself. You find situations that maybe you would have never thought was possible. You find new discoveries, and that is worth sometimes taking the courage and the risk of getting out of fear and taking a leap of faith, is how most people say it. The letter A, I put a symbol. When you are, in a church or in a building or with like-minded people of any background, and you assemble and you have a hope or a belief for something greater, that's probably some of the best moments right there. Because like at your football game, right? If anyone can remember what a football game is like before COVID-19, it's great when you're on your home team side and you're cheering that person or that play or that moment where the crowd just gets still and everything is in awe and then you see them win the winning score for the game. It's a triumphant moment. And that's what an assembly of people can do when you're not so bound with fear. That you get out, you break that shell, you get into that transformation of a reformation of thinking, and it's liberating. The letter I put identify. Now, again, faith is not always an easy word, but when you're able to look at the identification of what faith really does, it allows for you to be a little bit optimistic, and therefore you can identify to the opportunities that are going to come your way. Man, I got that extra promotion at my job because I was willing to get out of fear about being successful, and now I'm on the top of the corporation ladder because I was willing to take one step in a new direction. So I identified to that opportunity. I seized the moment versus letting the moment pass me by. The letter T, I put truth. So the other thing about what faith does, it reveals the truth of where you're at, where your heart is, where your character is, where your motives could be really sharpened if you choose to take that and run with it. So when I see truth and I see like my actions produced this result by working out or by studying hard or honing my skills, that's a truth that I can swallow and say I can see the results. You plant what you sow, you reap what you harvest. Those are all application things that we can see in a practical way, and that's what a truth does. It reveals what we've learned and what we can apply and what we can do. And so today, guys, I'm going to put 2 scriptures for this. It's a little bit longer video, but again, it's good stuff. We need this right now. And so I put 1 John 4:18. It says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear." So when you're fearful, it's going to be hard to receive love. It's going to be hard to give love when you're afraid of getting hurt, you've been rejected, you've been abused. The list can go on. Every person's going to think different and perceive things different. But when you're really in love, whether it's with God or with someone that's close to you, it's one of the best feelings. It's one of the comfort nets that I can fall back to and say, they got me. I'm supported. I'm lifted. And there's nothing that can really come my way when I know I'm in perfect love. Now, do I feel that every day? Probably not. I would lie to you and say it would be great if I didn't, but realistically, I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm going to go through things. But honestly, it's one of the best feelings to know that when you are in perfect love, it is going to get rid of fear. It is going to get rid of a lot of the anxiety and weights that maybe you're carrying on your shoulders. But it's all how you perceive it. The next verse, guys, that I found was in Psalms 27:3 from the NIV, and it says this: "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" So you can choose who to fear, what to fear, but eventually you're going to have to deal with the fear at some point when you decide that moment. But what I'm telling you right now is that as faith fights the fear in your life, as your belief collides with your moments that you have to question the meaning of life, if you are faithful in God, you're going to have a lot of good promises according to God. There's 7,000 of them written throughout the Bible. And it's always based on His performance, not your works. That's comforting to know, for at least me. For those who are not into the whole spiritual thing, that's fine. Whatever your truth is, find that to rely on to give you strength to believe for something better tomorrow. Even if it's just the ability to keep going when no one else is doing it, to believe in you. Find that inner strength, that inner drive, or the why in the question of what you're doing. And make that your motivation to hope for something better and to become optimistic. We need more optimistic people right now because there's too much negativity all around us. It's corrupting, it's eroding, and it's killing humanity. And, Psalms 27 said, "And whom shall I fear?" That's a question that I leave with y'all today. Whom shall you fear? It can be yourself, it can be your neighbor, your family. But if you're faithful to believe in something greater or to apply something different, ask that question. Whom should I really fear? Do I fear the new me that could be the best discovery? Or do I fear the opportunity that will pass me by if I don't take a little step in action? Anyways, guys, have a great week. See you soon.